Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. Here we are, number 12, Larry and Al, Search for Truth. Thanks to Al, I got my Cohiba going here, and can't get much better than that. Our last podcast, we talked a lot about our educational programs and just some of the techniques and ways that we did business. And it seems to me, I'm not big into social media, but I hear a lot about social influencers and people that have podcasts and broadcasts that uh, they share their wealth of knowledge, whatever it might be. So I found a quote here, and again, an anonymous quote that says, "It's especially crucial for influencers because to direct others, people need to trust the influencers and their recommendations." And so I think that, all the things that we shared in podcast number 11 had to do with our programming and how we tried to motivate students, how we had tried to uh, direct them, guide them. And so, how do you feel we did about developing the trust with our students? How did we do it? Did we do it? And was it effective?
Well, we keep going back to the referrals that we had, and we never ever was in a situation where we were had to worry about students for ADA.
Right.
Okay, we had more. We had more than enough students, and all we had to do is manage them in the classroom and make sure that they attended and were doing the things that outside of school that we signed them up to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like anything else. When you bake a cake because you like to bake, you bake good cakes.
Yeah. Right.
Okay? And when you bake a cake because you have to bake a cake,
Mm-hmm.
what happens?
Mm-hmm. It's not all that tasty sometimes.
Yeah. And I think that what we did was that we did the things for the right reason. We didn't have to, and no, we didn't have to make ADA. We didn't have a major disciplinary problems and things like that. You know, we 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 were in control of what it is what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it goes back to the other process. Well, why did why was it that nobody embraced what it is we're doing? That the only principal that we had that embraced what we were doing was Mary Lou Vichet.
Right.
Okay, because she was a forward thinker.
Right.
She
Exactly.
she she understood. She came from LA and she was in juvenile court schools from there, and she was an administrator, and she understood community. You see, understood
Oh, yeah. I like
how the
that.
community plays a part in what we do, and then you have to embrace the community. Okay, the kids can't be pariahs. They have to be given the opportunity to get the same type of social referrals that the kids at the regular high school get. A lot of people don't even know that a kid could go to community college while he's still in high school.
Right. Well, that
Okay.
was again the counselor in you. You,
Yeah.
you knew that. You understood that,
Yeah.
and you could offer that as a service to
And but
your people.
I had to vet the student. I mean,
Of course.
I just didn't throw it out there and say, hey,
Hmm.
but we had about when we were over there in the warehouse, we had about 3 or 4 kids that were really taking advantage of community college.
Yes.
And when they were graduating from us, they were damn near graduating from community college.
Right. There was
Yeah,
that
yeah,
number of students. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So, but you have to be able to offer on the side the same things that the kids would be offered at the regular high school on the side, and give them a chance to have an opportunity.
Again, that's alternative education.
Right.
That's the key to it, and having those opportunities given to them, provided for them, and guiding them. That seems like the best way to enhance the trust, I guess, is what
Right.
we're looking
Right.
for.
Right. Because kids would come up to us and say, we would be able to have a dialogue with them and be able to, part of the deal, we would be able to have a dialogue with them about about what the interests were, and it was never a situation saying, "Oh, you can't do that," or you know. But we always made it a situation where let's check into it. And we would check with people and make sure that they would be aware of the kind of student we had, and this student wants to take advantage of shadowing. Memories, the shadowing thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Talk about that.
Well, it was one of the things that we could do with the kids that weren't able to go into ROP or weren't old enough to go in ROP or weren't able to go to an ROP, but we had people in the business world where they could spend an hour a day shadowing and seeing what they were doing, especially if they were interested in their field.
Hmm.
And so that when they became old enough, or the situation opened up, they got an opportunity to get some action.
Right. And remember, also we did community service projects.
Right,
We
right,
allowed
right,
them to go out and work on things, donate their time
right, right.
and
They got
resources.
electric credit. Got to give them
Yeah.
electric
Oh yeah.
credit. Yeah.
Absolutely. Always something for them
They
to
made sure that,
benefit from
yeah,
it.
make sure that they got something out of the deal. Okay.
Right. Right. Well, you know what kind of led me to the beginning of this podcast about the influencers and stuff. Well, when we were off camera, you were talking about George Poles,
Yeah,
your coach.
yeah,
You've mentioned him many times,
yeah.
and you've mentioned some of the big names of athletes, professional athletes in particular. Big names. I mean, maybe
Made a
some of the
picture.
younger viewers know, but the
Frank
older
Robinson,
right,
Bill Russell.
right.
Okay, I mean, he coached. He was my baseball coach when I was in high school, but before then, he was the basketball, baseball coach at McClymonds, and then when he did Ebergerich and Sons Legion teams, he had Kurt Flood, he had Lynn Gabrielson, all those, and he was in the Bay Area. He was like the number one baseball guy. I mean, even when I was coaching Little League, and I was coaching at the high school level here in Orange County, I always patterned my approach
Mm,
after him. And all the thing that was always said about what I was, everybody would see that the kids was learning baseball,
right,
how to play baseball.
right,
Okay, we weren't, and my goal was to take the guy that was the right fielder, and I turned the right fielder into a glamour position because, like I've explained to you, that is one of the most important positions in baseball.
right,
Okay, you got the longest throw.
right,
You have the longest throw, and you have to be able to be able to back up first base and things like that.
right,
But not just because you can't field the catch and put you in right field. No, I want you in right field because you can play.
right.
Okay, okay. But it was just the thing that I learned from the coaching. He take the guy that had the least amount of skill, and he brought that kid up to the other kids that had skill.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So it leads me to the next sort of question.
Mhm.
And I talked about influencers, and that's a big thing now. It seems like it's very vogue, very in. But George Poles was back in the day before influencing
Oh
was
man.
even considered what it was or considered what it is
And,
today. So he was an influencer.
the curious thing about it is in my high school, which I have never mentioned, was the only all black high school in Oakland
Hmm.
at the time.
Hmm.
Okay, and this was in the I graduated in 1962, and you think about from the late 40s to that time, it was all black. I mean, it was the only black high school in Oakland at that time.
Hmm.
That was before everything turned over.
Hmm.
Okay, and all the kids that he was coaching were black kids, and he was the one that used to take the extra little thing, like the extra thing, always doing the extra thing.
So he was an innovator. We had talked about
Yeah,
innovation.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So was he well respected by
Oh
his
heck yeah!
peers?
Oh man!
And what did they respect about him? His peers, I'm
Well,
saying.
he was one of the smartest baseball guys,
Uh,
coaching strategy,
mhm.
but getting the right individuals on his team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, when you have a Legion team that goes to the state playoffs every year, okay,
Uh-huh.
and he got guys from Ernie. And I remember Ernie Fazio. He and I were the same age, but Ernie Fazio was in high school. I was still in junior high school, and
Mm-hmm.
he ended up playing for the Colt 45s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but he was able to coach technique, pitching, I mean, all the aspects of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and his teams are well prepared, pitching, hitting, everything. Along and at that time, I mean, I used to be the bat boy for the Legion team, and we'd go. Geez, that was the first time I got an experience of traveling as a 13, 14 year old
Mm-hmm.
and going to St. Helena, going up to going all he had baseball games all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's who he was. Night baseball games and
So do you think that was a real motivator for you when you were a bat boy to want to continue to play and move up and become a part of
well,
that team that you were accompanying on those trips?
I want you to pay attention to what my father told me. He told me keep your mouth shut and pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what I saw was families getting together. It was we had Portuguese families, Italian families, white families, and at the end of the game, they put out the spread of food and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they were all together, okay,
Mm-hmm.
supporting the teams,
Right.
okay.
Right.
It was not like today you got you got the parents that get involved and they my kid, my kids, we paying for my kid to play. We want him to play and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay, the coach, it's a matter of coaching. And how do you integrate things in situational, okay? And too many. I remember when I first started coaching uh, Little League in Santa Ana, then Junior All American football. It was just before it became everybody got an award. That's when they started doing that
Mm-hmm.
instead of the most valuable player, blah 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 blah. But 70, 72, 73. That's when they start doing the participation award for everybody. Okay,
Right.
and so then it worked out. In high school now, you got to pay for your gear. Did your son have to pay for his gear back when he was in high school?
Some of it, yeah,
Yeah,
not all of it,
yeah,
but a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of it, a lot
yeah,
more
yeah,
than
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
I did when I
yeah,
played.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
And again, that in a way that's exclusionary because certain people don't have those
Yeah.
abilities to
Well,
afford to do it.
well, when we were coming along, you had to make the team.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you didn't make the cut, you didn't. I remember we used to have to watch through practice. Even when I was going through community college or college, position, did you make the team? Okay, so you worked hard to make the team. Now you are you're on the team because you paid the money.
Right. It's not what you know; it's who you know.
And,
I don't know. Yeah.
yeah, you gotta. When I was at El Medina, the guys playing on the baseball team, they had to pay $500 to get
Wow.
uniforms.
Wow.
Okay, and the parents would say, "Why come my boy's not playing?
Mm-hmm.
I paid money."
Yeah.
Oh, how do you do that? Okay, you got what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was thinking when you were talking about, well, when I asked you about being a bat boy and being around the baseball team,
Mm-hmm.
I remember a lot of times, we would have our graduations and we would have a nice recognition, a nice celebration.
Mm-hmm.
Families would come, and it was a really an eventful and a celebration.
Yeah,
And there were a lot of kids that weren't quite ready yet to graduate, but they would attend.
right.
And I would so many times I would hear these students saying, "That's going to be me next time, next
Yeah,
semester or next year, next time we have a graduation, I'm going to be there."
yeah.
And it motivated them, and many that said that followed through with it, and they
You,
were
you,
motivated by
you
that.
remember what we used to do? We used to have them as hostesses and handing out the flyers and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, because Kids, if they see what's going on, they buy
They
into.
want to be a part of
They
that,
want to
right?
be a part of it. They want to be a part of it, and that's and they're working towards it, and they see the glee and the happiness for those guys who worked hard to 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 to, to come to school,
Hmm.
and the major part of the whole deal is you have to come to school,
Right,
and you have to be on time, and you have to do the work.
right,
Okay, because the one thing the thing that was most important for me, and I think that we did it, is that we did not water down the program. Everybody had to earn their stripes.
right, right.
Everybody had to earn their stripes.
It was the same for everybody. Somebody didn't
Yeah,
get to slide on through because
no,
they were the
no,
best looking one.
no.
Right.
And like I would say that when guys would come in, like they would come in and we started. What time we started? Usually started at what, 7,
Uh huh. Yeah.
and then the guys would come in 9:45,
Hmm.
almost 10 o'clock, and say, well, and then when I would do the report cards, they would say, well, how come I got partial credits? Well, I say, well, look at other days, and I said, this is recorded, and look at all the days that you came in late, and and you didn't do any work. You sat there and you talked. Okay, and if you want to earn credit, you have to be able to do the work and do the assignment. Because what all we asked them to do is they had 4 required courses: English, math, history, and science. And every day they had to do at least 2 assignments in each discipline.
Hmm.
And then they had an elective, and they did the elective. How are you doing, champ? Happy New Year. That's good. But they realized that all they had to do was be a part of, take part of in the classroom,
Hmm.
and then we had the elective. We had an elective. And the elective was usually Casey Prep.
Right.
Okay.
And there were
Okay. So
yeah.
so if you figure like this, you do the morning program, you have a break, and then you do the after break program, and then you're done. You do your assignments, and then you're done.
Right.
And the school's out, and you've completed your day's worth of work. Okay.
It was a productive day.
Productive day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I kind of wanted to shift gears here. I was thinking about some things, and so we like talking about sports,
Uh-huh.
and so in the NFL they make a point of having the NFL Man of the Year,
Yeah.
and they look at some of the things that the players do. Each team nominates a player
Mhm.
from their team that is doing exemplary work in the community, if you
Right.
will.
Right.
What's your thoughts on that, as far as being a sort of a public relations kind of act that the NFL emphasizes?
Well, I think it's a good platform for people that are playing football in that community
Hmm.
to be visible,
Right.
to be
Yeah.
visible, to give back to the community,
Hmm.
because they make a couple of dollars. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
and it's just like when you think about what we did. What did we do to give back to the community? We fixed breakfasts.
Yeah.
Okay, and we would tell the kids about little activities
Hmm.
in the community that they can volunteer for.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so you know when people would when people would see our kids, they didn't know what our kids were in.
Right.
They didn't know if their kids were alternative ed kids or anything, because we taught them how to behave. But you always, I think it's important that those folks who have the platform go back and help those folks that don't have the platform. Okay,
Hmm.
and be a part of that equation.
I think too. I've talked about trying to make some points, bullet points, if you will,
Hmm.
about some of the techniques in alternative ed that we did. I think one of the things, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we showed enthusiasm for some of the things that they were doing, their
Oh yeah.
situations, and when they were involved in things. It's something as simple as helping your little brother or sister with their schoolwork, or being a mentor to their own
Do you
siblings.
remember the time that you went on vacation on your motorcycle?
Yeah.
And the kids were,
Oh yeah.
Where's Mr. Conrad at today?
Yeah.
And then you would call back in, and
Yeah.
it was we had you on the map and
Oh, I
everything.
forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah. And that was a geography a project.
Yeah. Right.
You remember?
Right.
We utilized every opportunity we could to acquaint the students to what goes on in real life every day.
Personalized it.
Personalize it. Yeah, where's Mr. Cooler at today?
Yeah.
Oh, how far did you go on the
We
motorcycle?
went all the way across the country, 9,000 miles.
9,000 miles?
4 weeks
Yeah,
of 28 states or
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. And so I remember checking in and
Yeah,
saying,
you
well,
call.
we're here now.
We
We're at the
call it.
Grand Canyon.
Yeah, and we
Whatever, right?
calling in, and everybody said, "Hey, Mr. Cooler, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that again, that personalized it. It gave them, I guess, a sense of belonging. And you said something earlier
Mhm.
about, well, like Mary Lou and her ability and the importance of creating community.
Yeah.
And I think the bottom line is that's what our classroom looked like. It was a community.
They had control of the classroom, and we was just the bystanders.
You say that like we actually we always that was the always thing too, is that we it's inherent we have the control.
Yeah.
We pull the strings.
Yeah.
But if we could just sort of kind of loosen it up a little bit and let them have the reins a little bit, they could grow, and then we could sit back and say,
amazing the things that they came up with and the things that they did.
mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we would always encourage that, and say, okay, let's look at that, and always try to go back to how does this enhance your educational growth and
Right.
experience,
Right.
and yeah, I like that. And so remember, I think this was several episodes ago on our podcast, but I talked about if we were gonna teach a class of up and coming educators who were planning on going into the alternative
Uh-huh.
arena, what are some of the things we could share with them that would be a good tool to put in their tool bag to work with the students, our particular kinds of students.
Well, the one thing, two things come to mind is to check the ego at the door.
Yeah.
And learn how to enhance self-esteem.
Yeah, I know you talked a lot about that.
Well, that was
Self-esteem.
yeah.
And that was back in the day when self-esteem was sort of emphasized. I don't know if it still is today. Are we trying to teach our students to develop their self-esteem, their confidence?
Why do you think sometimes the young people go to the extreme on the tattoos and all the
Right.
things that they want to be identified,
Recognized.
recognized. Okay,
Yeah. Right.
I mean, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not something that I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but in today's medium, that's a recognizable thing that they're doing. Okay, and that's an individual thing, and you have to be able to deal with that individual right there where they're at. It's not a bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just where you're at.
Right.
Okay, I mean, we had kids that they would come through with tattoos and stuff like that, and that it didn't phase me.
Right.
But and I just tell them that if that's what you want to do with your body, that's what you want to do. But you can't do it here at school.
Right.
I mean, whatever the situation was, the negative situation is that you do that on your time, but
Mm-hmm.
not here.
Right.
And because they have to learn boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay, and like I said, in today's kind of kid, I don't know if they have boundaries.
Well, we talked about, you teach life skills, for example.
Right.
A lot of times people, what did you do? What was your profession? And, I was like you said, an alternative educator. What does that mean exactly? And I would sort of explain to them, and it was the idea of meeting these students where they were at, and like we've said many times, and trying to get them to where they uh, express that that's where they want to go.
Yeah.
But you said something about checking your self-esteem at the door. What about checking your judgment at the door?
Well, I think that's part of the ego. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
think that I didn't say self-esteem. I said ego at the door.
Ego, that was it.
Yeah,
You did say, you did, that
yeah.
was right. You're right. It
Okay,
was the ego at the door. Yeah.
because you got to understand something. We are in charge of these kids, and we have the last say whether they go up or down around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like we was talking about the one podcast we are talking about. A lot of these guys got pencil whipped. And people don't understand what
Yeah.
pencil whip means. It means that a kid, a teacher, could write all these eloquent things about what the kid, negative things that the kid didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but they don't ever write the things that the kid does do.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
and that's you can and once you start pencil whipping the kid, and what you think the kid's gonna follow your directions.
Well, it goes back to the influencer and the trust you have in
Mm-hmm.
that influencer on their recommendations. And if you're doing it through your ego or you're doing it through judgment, then it's not necessarily going to be well received, and it's not necessarily going to be what that student most needs. And that's why that's the work. You say, well, teachers, what the work you do? Well, yeah, you prep, and you find the materials they need, and you monitor them, and you
Mm-hmm.
grade them, you evaluate them, and you assign their work, and like I say, you evaluate their work. But a lot of times if you do it from a position of your ego or by
Power.
judging and power,
Yeah.
then you really miss the growth of that student.
Right. 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 Right.
Uh, yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, I think we're almost wrapping up again here, but any closing comments or thoughts about what we've been talking about the last?
I think we're talking about relevant stuff that we did,
Mhm.
and I think talking about our social and emotional approach to what we're talking about dealing with juveniles.
Because you talked about social development.
Mm.
So, what would you think would be a key paramount uh, accomplishment or goal that you would set socially for our students?
Well, I think about showing them how to write a check,
Mm-hmm.
how to go shopping, where to
Mm-hmm.
go shopping,
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, how to fill out applications.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and pay attention on how to read the newspaper and ads and things like that.
Yeah.
Those are the social things that I thought were important that
Mm-hmm.
they need to know, so that they would because you read the bait and switch. The first 99 people get this free,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and they don't realize that you get one item free, but you're paying for the rest of the
Yeah.
items.
Right.
Okay,
Right. 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 You gotta be savvy, right? You
yeah,
gotta teach them to be
you
savvy.
gotta be savvy.
Be
Yeah.
savvy. All right. Well, it was a
All right,
pleasure again,
all
Mr.
right,
Steele,
all right,
and
all right.
thank you for a fine conversation.
No problem. I appreciate doing this with you.
Those of you that are out there listening, subscribe to our page so that you can get the notifications of when we're going to record again.